Right now, Representative Pam Marsh is pointing Oregon towards internet equity with legislation aimed at bringing broadband to rural Oregon. Joining us today to talk about that legislation and broadband access is Representative Pam Marsh. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for coming.
So what is the plan with this legislation to bring broadband to rural Oregon, and why is this something that's so important?
Well, goodness, during the pandemic, we certainly learned, we didn't know it before, how essential technology is for virtually everything we do in our lives. People who did not have broadband during the pandemic have on work opportunities, on K-12 education, on exercise classes, on opportunities to involve themselves in religious services online, on neighborhood communication, on virtually everything. The good news is that the feds are coming forward with a lot of money to help us solve this problem. So Oregon expects to get a minimum of $200 million that we can put toward broadband. And we are sponsoring legislation to make sure the state is prepared and ready to take that money and invest it in ways that will really help people in all corners of the state.
Realistically, what's the timeline for this? When could we see that broadband actually on the ground?
Well, the money will be coming from the federal government this year. We are currently in the planning stages of how to spend that money. And I think you will see the rollout of actual construction over probably the next 2 to 3 years, maybe even 5 years. 200 million or more, if we get more, is a lot of money to spend. And so it does have to be planned and permitted and out on the ground. But we are going to move as quickly as we can.
Oregon has a lot of rural areas. Is there a way to prioritize certain areas over others?
Well, in terms of the actual construction of access, we will definitely be prioritizing areas that are either unserved or not served at all. So areas that might have internet, but it's really not very good. Or in some areas of the state, communities that have none at all. So those will be the priority. The federal government is setting a fast standard for internet because they want us, when we are done with this, to be future-proof, to be ready for the years to come and to have not just internet, but really, really good internet. So we're going to be aspiring to high standards, as we should.
In your opinion, how long will it take before construction is done and we actually see this impacting schools, for example?
Well, I think we'll start to see some projects completed in the next year. Others more complex will take a couple of years. We need to look not just at in-community projects, but how we build the system as a whole. We need middle mile construction infrastructure to make sure that we can support internet that goes to every corners of our community. So in some cases, this will be a big construction project. In other cases, it's less complex and will be a matter of hooking up communities. And that's part of the complexity of the whole thing, is making sure that we are putting together projects that can actually sustain communities and that fit.
Representative Pam Marsh, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.